Welcome back to the Sighting Lab, where we give you an insight into the world of motorcycle racing. Now, if you follow the Sighting Lab on social media, you will know exactly what this week's podcast episode is all about. To finish the 2023 season on a high, we are doing the Sighting Lab Awards.
Woo!
But yeah, cue for applause, everyone. Myself and Harvey are here this week for the final podcast episode of 2023. Harvey, a few words on 2023 as a whole. Sum up your season as we finish our last episode of the year.
In one word,
One word, couple words, whatever comes to mind.
spectacular.
Okay.
I thought since we're all dressed up, quite bougie, I thought I'd use a fancy word.
Well, yeah. So hopefully this podcast makes it to YouTube too, so you'll be able to see us. Harvey and I have been dressed up for the occasion. We've been dropping hints on our social media now for over a week, and we've been asking you guys to vote in the Sighting Lap Awards. And yeah, this is it. I can't believe it's the last episode of the year. If I was going to sum it up in a word, I would say long, very tired, exhausted. And ready for a bit of a break over Christmas.
I wonder how you feel after this season.
And we don't even work in the paddock. This is what scares me.
Oh, yeah,
We did a lot this year, though. We did a lot.
too much.
Way too much. I mean, just in the siding lap itself, we did so much this season. I mean, at the start of the year, we did a women in motorsport project. Then we attended a lot of races throughout sort of the spring and summer, and then the flyaways on top of interviews, opportunities like going to Donington Park with World Superbikes. It's been a pretty crazy year, so I feel like saying tired is a pretty valid response to how we feel about the 2023 season.
God, it's been much crazier, I'd say. Which probably does sum up how the actual racing season has gone as well.
Oh,
It's
for sure.
probably been the most manic season of MotoGP I can remember in quite a while.
Yeah, which we love to see. And in saying that, this is exactly what the Setting Lab Awards are all about. We've taken some inspiration from the end of season awards that happen every single year, and we thought, let's do our own. Because at those award ceremonies, first, second, and third get their medals. You get to see Pecco put his wee name on the trophy, and then that's pretty much it. I think best overtake, couple rookies of the year, and then other than that, you don't really get to hear much about what happened throughout the year. So we took matters into our own hands, let the fans vote with some, I don't know, pre-made answers that like we all picked our favorite moments from the season and then let the fans vote from our options. So the four of us here at the Siding Lap did just that and we got a really, really good response, which I'm so glad about because I always worry that no one's going to reply to these sorts of things. But we got an absolutely fantastic response from the fans. So, and you guys listening, so now we have the awards to go through. So let's just start with the first one, which is obviously the best race of 2023. Now, we left this open from every single race of the season. So you had 20 rounds to choose from this year. Harvey, if you had to harbour a guess at what won this year, what would you say?
Oh, I felt like we had some manic flyaways. I feel like those were probably the craziest races.
Uh-huh.
Um, I feel like maybe we had quite a few first wins, quite a few emotional wins. So Australia, Qatar, they might be all be on the cards. Obviously Argentina with Bezecchi winning at the start of the year. Oh, if I was to pick, I'd probably go Qatar.
Ooh, interesting.
I feel like that's a lot of emotion towards Didier and
Yeah.
getting a last minute ride.
Okay. Well, Qatar wasn't even in the top three of
Oh
the
wow.
votes. Yep. So I suppose I'll start in third place then. I think that's the best way to do it. And we had a joint place for third between Valencia and India.
Ooh.
bit random. I thought, well, India was good. I suppose Alicia Spargo won Silverstone this year, so that's maybe why people picked that. But third place really, really shocked me this year.
Yeah. Um, India. Just I don't know how a race could be so exciting with someone winning by 8 seconds. This almost reminds it. It was quite Rossi-esque, I
Mm.
suppose. I think that's maybe why the race gained a lot of fans.
I think it being a new place as well, we were all so
Yeah.
excited to go there and all the controversy heading into India, and then it ended up being quite a success.
Yeah, plus it was, I mean, it was such a cool track as well. I mean, I think we had our doubts. The crowd was absolutely buzzing. Uh, whilst the attendance numbers actually weren't awful high, there was so much noise.
Yeah.
If, more and more fans come to the track year upon year upon year, this might be one of the best races in the on the calendar to come.
Yeah, we could be in for, yeah, one of the best races on the calendar in terms of attendance and spectacular racing. In second place, though, we had Thailand. Now, I wonder why that could be. We had some mad racing in Thailand between Jorge Martin, Pecco Bagnaia, and Brad Binder. Pecco trying to make that move around the outside. Like, yeah, I think I voted for Thailand myself. Definitely one of the best races of the season, without a doubt.
I think it was probably the best last lap of the season. And that,
Australia,
oh God, yeah.
last lap. I don't know. It had a few laps where it was exciting, but Australia was solely the last lap that was exciting.
Yeah. Well, that's fair enough then.
Okay. And I think that's why Australia has taken it for the best race of the season. I was really, really shocked by this. I mean, I know we've seen a lot of things there. Obviously, Johan Zarco's first win, Fabio Di Giannantonio's first main race podium in MotoGP. I mean, it was a lot to be excited for. But I'm really, really surprised that it's been voted the best race of the season because it was just the final lap. I know there was a few laps before where it was a bit cat and mouse and we were wondering whether or not Jorge Martin had made the correct tire choice, but if that race had finished one lap sooner, it would have been one of the most boring races of the season.
I think there's a bit of a magic to Phillip Island that I think people are quite synonymous with. And because it delivered on the last lap, a battle between five, which in nowadays MotoGP is, that's the past. These
Yeah.
big group scraps. So coming to Phillip Island every year. Obviously, last year was spectacular and probably was the race of the season. I don't disagree with this one, to be fair. I think the whole weekend was so exciting. Obviously with weather and stuff like this, and it got moved to a Saturday. And I just remember waking up, seeing Johan Zarco on my phone, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I never thought he would do it. He did. So I think there's a lot of emotions into that one. So I would say it's a worthy winner.
Yeah, it's clearly a fan favorite, and to be fair, it definitely was up there in my opinion of best races this season. But there you have it. Australia has been voted as the best race of the season. Let's move on then to our next category, which is best overtake. Now, this did get decided at the MotoGP Beats ceremony, and Marc Marquez won it. But I'm not gonna lie, I think the four overtakes that were chosen for the MotoGP awards were just a bit meh.
I don't know because my pick made the shortlist for
Okay.
the MotoGP's one as well.
I just can't, I think the one, I'm glad that Marc Marquez won something this year, but I don't know. I didn't think,
He won the most crashes as well. That's two awards.
yeah, but he didn't get an actual award for that.
He got the fans honor or dishonor.
Yeah. I suppose you could put it that way. But the four crashes, now you have me talking nonsense. The four overtakes that we chose here at the Styling Lab included any and all moves made by Jorge Martin and Pecco Bagnaia during the German Grand Prix. Fabio Di Giannantonio's move on Pecco Bagnaia to win his first race in Qatar, Johann Zarco's last lap move to take his first MotoGP win in Australia, and Jorge Martin on Fabio Quartararo for second place in India. I mean, four very good overtakes.
Yeah, I don't know if people would have voted for the the outcome. Sorry, the overtake with the best outcome, or just the best overtake in general,
Yeah.
the most daring move, or whether the biggest implications. I don't know. This one could be tight.
Well, because Australia won best race of the season, I think it might be because of Johann Zarco's last lap move to take his first MotoGP win in Australia. This overtake won by a landslide. People loved it. And I think, like we mentioned, 5 laps to go. You could sort of say that we could be on for a last lap battle and a Johann Zarco MotoGP win. And the fashion that he did it, no wonder that this one has clearly won head and shoulders above the rest. It was unbelievable to watch.
Yeah. I think it'll be one of those unforgettable ones, to be honest.
Yeah.
Last first win, and you almost enjoy those first wins where they've been waiting for so long, rather than the first wins that come out and shock you straight away. You could talk about Enea Bastianini's first win, but we knew he had that class already, and it was fast already. But the fact that Johan Zarco had been trying and trying and trying for years, and he could have, how many second places did he have? Countless. We probably don't even have a stat for that.
Oh,
Uh,
not off the top of my head,
there's
anyway.
quite a few. Anyway, the fact that he'd been really, really trying and trying and trying, and he finally got it done. I think that's just what pushed it.
100%. Um, yeah, I mean, this race was just clearly the best with the best overtakes too. In second place, I'll just quickly mention that Fabio Di Giannantonio's move on Pecco Bagnaia at the Qatar Grand Prix came in its second, like I said. And in third place then was any and all moves made by Pecco Bagnaia or Jorge Martin during the German Grand Prix. I think that was just because it was a battle on track, and at that point, Jorge Martin wasn't in the title fight. So it was really interesting to watch. And then Jorge Martin obviously pipped Pecco to the line, and some could say that was the start of this year's rivalry.
Yeah, and I'd almost say it was a massive kind of redemption after a poor season last year, which obviously saw Enea Bastianini taking the factory seats over Jorge Martin. So I think it was a massive relief on the back of his shoulders, and almost when he started winning, he couldn't stop.
Yeah, definitely. But that is best overtake. Let's move on then to the third category, which is the best after race celebration. So, the nominees, I should actually be calling all of these. The first one then is Alex Rins doing a shoey after winning at Coda with LCR Honda. I mean, pretty iconic. The second one is Johann Zarco's first backflip celebration in over 7 years. That's how long we've been waiting for Johann Zarco to win a MotoGP race, guys. Third option then was Maverick the Batman Vinales podium celebrations in Indonesia. I still don't know why he did that, but it was funny.
It was just iconic, to be honest.
Yeah, it was so weird, and we were all sleep deprived, and all of a sudden he's out here in a Batman costume. Thought I was hallucinating when I was watching it live. And the fourth option then was Pedro Acosta's pizza delivery service in Mugello. I mean, that was pretty darn good. If that doesn't show you that Pedro Acosta is something special, I don't know what will. What a celebration. What a character. How excited are we to have him in MotoGP next year?
God, I think this could be the second coming of Rossi. The celebrations, the ridings, the flat out riding.
Mm,
I don't know. I'm so excited. I mean, he's not too bad, is he?
no, I think he's pretty. pretty decent, some could say. Don't know.
But
But if
arguable.
if you had to harbor a guess at this one, Harvey, what are you thinking?
I feel like I feel like there might be a trend, an ongoing trend with these awards. So at a very, very outside guess, I'm gonna go with the backflip.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, could it be anything else? The Australia theme rings on. Again, even a more overwhelming response than the best overtake. Zarco's backflip nearly won by a landslide here. There was only a couple votes for the other three options. People loved the backflip, and we're so glad to finally see it again.
I mean, all the videos went viral, didn't they? All the
Oh,
fan
yeah.
videos, whatever was on the TV feed, just went like, it just bombarded my social media for the whole
It
day.
still does. I get clips all the time on TikTok, Instagram,
Oh yeah,
memories popping up throughout the season when like MotoGP are talking about things that happened throughout the season. Like I can't escape it. This backflip is going to be etched into my memory forever. And he's done loads of them before, but I think just because this is his first MotoGP win, it just makes it so much special, so much more special.
yeah.
Fair enough. Second place, surprisingly, well, actually not so surprisingly, was Pedro Costa's pizza delivery service in Mugello. I mean, what a character, what a kid, what a guy.
We'll see
I'm
it.
so
We'll see it
excited.
again. We'll see it again soon.
Do you think this could become like an annual Mugello thing, or do you think he's just going to keep
I,
outdoing himself in the
I, I
celebrations?
think he's going to keep outdoing himself. I think he's asserted himself as a character, and I think that we shouldn't be we shouldn't be pondering whether he is going to do a celebration. We should be pondering what it is.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, his when he won the championship this year, his celebrations were good, and obviously he's like called the Shark, I think it translates to, because he's from like a fishing town in Spain, and like he's got the whole nickname, the celebrations, it's very exciting.
Yeah. No, I'm so excited.
And then let me see. Third place then was Alex Rins doing a shoey after winning at Kota. This has become a tradition. I mean, he won on the Suzuki and then he won with the LCR Honda. Could he win next year on a Yamaha? Could we see the
Oh
shoey
yeah.
happen for a third year?
I think I've been seeing so many tweets saying that whilst we were talking about Maverick and Jack becoming the first riders to win on three manufacturers, I still think it'll be Alex Rins.
Oh, 100%. I mean, Jack Miller had a chance to do it in Valencia and completely dumped it down the road and lost that opportunity. I would still have my money on Alex Rins.
Oh yeah. No offense to Maverick, obviously. Just
I just think Coda's quite early in the season. Obviously,
early
he
in the
managed to win with
season.
LCR. I think it could be a
He's
surprise like
moving
that.
he's moving back to an inline four engine. He's gonna be fully fit,
Hopefully.
and the Yamaha should be a tiny bit better.
It can't get any worse, can it?
But if you can win on the Honda around Kota, you can win on the Yamaha.
Exactly, exactly. So hopefully the Shui celebration lives on. I love seeing it. Moving on then to our next category, category number 4. Is the biggest surprise. Now, we left this open to any rider, any moment, in any class, anything. We just left it completely, completely open. But again, there was a pretty overwhelming response for the biggest surprise of this season, without a shadow of a doubt. It had to be Fabio Di Giannantonio. He was such a talking point this season, especially in the second half of the season, after we found out that he was losing his seat at Gristini to none other than Marc Marquez. We all sort of thought, oh, well, maybe he'll go to World Superbikes, or maybe he'll do this, or back down to Moto 2, and then all those doors sort of closed, and we didn't really know what was going to happen. He could have went to Honda, and then eventually, finally, the seat opened up at VR46. But this guy, I think he scored after Pecco Bagnaia and Jorge Martin. I think at the end of the season, after the last nine races, I think he was the third highest scorer.
I think he'd compare his first 13 races compared to his last seven. In his last seven, he tripled his points tally.
What? That actually doesn't even surprise me. He was so bloody good.
Oh yeah. Once he had the Ducati figured out and just absolutely I mean, we were we were quite happy with, his top five finishes. He was best independent in one race, and we were all just saying like, oh, he's gonna be this is pretty good, he's gonna be good. And then he just
Yeah.
goes out, podium, win, another podium, got stripped, but anyway.
Nah, he
Um,
got that podium. I'm not taking Valencia away from him.
yeah, exactly. Could have got the win there as well.
Yeah. Not
But
his place to take the win in that race, but
no,
it
no.
makes you very, very excited for next season, especially because he's got that confirmation under his belt. He's secure. He's got the VR46 ride, and the momentum from that second half of the season coming now into the first half of 2024 put Fabio Di Antonio down on a list of people to look out for because, yeah, with form like that, oh, I'm just so excited for 2024 already.
I think there's so many big moves,
Yeah,
so many new face. Well, one new face, but a massive new face.
yeah.
And I'm probably already going to bet on who's my rookie of the year.
Well, he's already won it, technically.
Yeah,
Well, I think he
basically.
has to complete a race first or something. I don't know what it is. Although Augusto
He got
Fernandez took
he
quite a
got
long
awarded.
time to win it this year.
Yeah, he got awarded it half. Oh, I don't know. Maybe he needs to mathematically beat like.
I think you have to score so many points, and then before the end, it's very similar to like winning the championship. You have to have so many.
I don't know. Was there any riders who did like a wild card or replacement who'd never done MotoGP before?
No,
Trying to think because
no.
no, all of them had
But I
been
think like if a wild card or a replacement rider had come in that was technically a rookie and had scored more points than Augusto Fernandez, surely he would win it over Augusto. So I think that's why they have to wait quite a while before they can like
maybe.
mathematically actually hand
Um,
it out to
I don't
someone.
think so because Pedrosa, Lecuona, Folger, Petrucci did a wild card,
Yeah, there's no way.
Bautista, Bradle.
Unless someone throws a spanner in the works and brings a rookie in and they somehow beat Pedro Acosta, I'd say he has it in the
That's
bag.
not happening though. I mean, it's Pedro Acosta we're talking about here
Exactly, exactly. I could see top five finishes from Pedro Acosta next year, so
in the championship.
we'll just have to see about that one. But back to the point. Fabio Di Giannantonio is our biggest surprise of the season. We had a lot of votes for David Alonso in Moto 3. And if I was saying that you need to have Fabio Di Giannantonio on your who to look out for 2024, right underneath needs to be David Alonso, rookie and third in the championship in Moto 3 this year. On the Aspar bike, he is going places and he is going to be championship contender right off the bat next season.
Unreal. Absolutely unreal.
Full stop. Mic drop. Sorted. Another person who had a lot of votes was Fermin Aldeguer. I think there's a bit of a running theme in this category in particular of just dominant performances, and when they get to the front, you cannot stop them. And Fermin Aldeguer is definitely one of those people. Another year on the Bosco speed up machine, another year with his teammate Alonso Lopez. That seems to be working well. It seems to be gelling. And I'd said it before, going into 2024, if you look at his last however many races that he won or was on the podium, he was so dominant in the second half of the season. Pedro Costa didn't even have an answer for him. So he is definitely a big, big surprise. But in the same breath, is he that big of a surprise? We always have sort of had Fermin Aldeguer on the back burner, sort of talking about him that he will eventually make his way to the front.
I think the absolute dominance of the last quarter of the season
Is the
was
surprise, yeah.
we expected him to win, but not race after race after race. I mean, what was it, four in a row?
Four in a row.
And another in Silverstone.
And it was like a podium in Australia and then won the next four races.
Yeah, plus is winning
Yeah, and then a win in
five races.
Silverstone. Yeah.
5 races. Is that more than Tony Arbolino?
Um,
That's a
Possibly. Yeah, actually.
that's a
But
terrible start to the season.
yeah. And he also managed to secure third place in the championship over Jake Dixon, who had a much stronger first half of the season than the second half of the season. But I mean, Jake would have needed a miracle in that last race in Valencia to hold on to P3 in the championship. And the way that Firmine was going, he was literally unstoppable.
Oh yeah, there was no way.
Yeah. I think that's when I look through the answers for this one, there's a few, one-off little answers, a few different like Alex Rins, a few people said Jorge Martin, a few people said Jake Dixon, a few people said
I think
Bezecchi.
I think there's a few like there's little justifications for them. Not
Yeah.
little as in not enough. I mean, little as in, little tiny things that
Yeah,
were.
you can like a wee nod of like, yeah, that
Oh
was
yeah.
good.
Oh, they did this, but we didn't expect them to go this mile. And
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I mean, third place being for me, second place being David Alonso, and first place being Fabio Di Giannantonio. I would say that is pretty fair. So let's flip that one on its head now for the next category. It is biggest disappointment. Now, this one again was left open to anyone's response, similar to the biggest surprise. And this was a rider or a moment in any class as well. We actually had a tie for this one, with quite a few votes for both Johan Mir and Miguel Oliveira, but our independent judges have made a decision and they have, I was gonna say, unfortunately, oh, I hate handing
I'll
this one
just start
out.
clapping actually.
Yeah, we have awarded the biggest disappointment to Johan Mir this season. This is where we go like, oh,
Yeah, we'll get the buzz
rather
over.
than clap.
Yeah. Um, I mean, jumping onto the Honda, I think we expected maybe a turnaround in Honda's fortunes at the start of the year. I think we saw not John to be at his Suzuki best, but at least or at least to help the Honda take a step. I think that's what we expected in the season, and we didn't see that. We saw absolutely nothing. Um, Injuries, crashes, crashes, poor performances, crashes, um, crashes.
Now you're being mean.
There were 50 between Mark and Joan Mir
Is that all?
and crashes. I think the fact that there's been, more crashes per than races, sorry, than rounds for each rider just tells.
Yeah, it speaks volumes. I think you've hit the nail on the head there that we expected not a lot from Johan Mir. We knew stepping onto the Honda that it was going to be a struggle, but I think just expecting him possibly like top 10 finishes consistently would have been a pretty like accurate of like, okay, heading into 2023, he's a former world champion. We know the Honda isn't great, but this guy is good, so he's going to be able to make the difference. But that just did not happen whatsoever. And then when you've got your teammate Mark Marquez who said he'd rather push and crash than finish outside the top 10, you can sort of understand why he was getting on the way that he was getting on. But then you have Mir who's finishing outside of the top 10 and crashing so often as well. It's interesting, and I'm not surprised that a lot of people voted for him this year as a big disappointment.
Yeah, I think with Oliveira, it was just a lot of misfortune.
Unlucky. Yeah,
He did have his good performances, and actually, before the crash, his Portimao round was very good.
exactly. He was on
Uh,
for a podium.
Silverstone finished in the top four. Other races did well. So he was there and about. I mean, I can give probably kudos to Jamir for India, which was an
Yeah.
incredible round for the Hondas. But obviously, maybe overlook the fact that India's a new track, a lot of unknowns.
Yeah, well, we'd see the same this year, probably. Probably not, but
Yeah. Either way, congratulations. No, not actually congratulations. Um, sorry, Drummer, you were fairly disappointing.
yeah, I think we can lob Honda in there with the biggest disappointment too. Like it's the bike that he was on, and to be fair, with that sort of machinery,
Yeah,
was anyone going to do well?
Mark took quite a lot of damage. Alex Rins was out for pretty much the whole season, or like two-thirds of it.
Yeah,
Taka Nakagami was nowhere. Um, the replacements didn't do amazing well. I mean, we don't expect them to, but still.
yeah,
So yeah, it was just really difficult. And you see the social media posts every week, however many Japanese bikes at the bottom, all Japanese bikes to the bottom six and stuff like that. It's horrible, really, to see.
yeah, definitely. Second place then was Miguel Oliveira for biggest disappointment. I think Harvey explained that one pretty well. For me, I think it was just crashes that weren't his fault. You know, when you look at that first round crash with Marc Marquez, he was a sitting duck. There's nothing he could have done, and that took him out for a while. Then there was further injuries later on in the season too, and yeah, it's you can rule his season off or be a little bit lighter on him when you look at some of the crashes he was involved with due to other riders. A lot of Mir's crashes were crashes that he'd made himself. So I think that's the difference between the two. Now, there wasn't an overwhelming response for a third place for biggest disappointment, but I will mention a few. This is very similar to the biggest surprise, where there's quite a few nods to some disappointing people or moments. So a few people actually said Anea Bastianini, which before recording Harvey and I read this and were like, surely not.
I think the injuries were the disappointing part. Um,
I think that's harsh to say it was a
oh,
disappointment.
I mean, he won a Grand Prix this year as well.
Exactly.
For with the races that he did have, yeah, some of them weren't up there, but he was recovering from injury from pretty much most of them, and then he won a Grand Prix. I mean,
I wouldn't
to,
call it
to
disappointing, but
win a Grand Prix, you've got to be some sort of class.
yeah.
So
I knew that one would get you riled up.
yeah, well, it might be a bit biased, I think, as well.
There was also a few people who commented that Jorge Martin in interviews or maybe after races or some comments that he's made throughout the season were disappointing. Now obviously there's been some things that have happened after season two where he's made some comments. Not gonna touch on those because those are out of line. But comments maybe that he made throughout the year, some people are saying
I think
don't really like how he conducted himself
maybe the ones in Qatar after he lost the race,
and blamed it on his tires.
tires. You know, yes, I would we also not say that in that situation? You know, a lot of
Put
these
yourself
athletes
in his shoes.
a lot of athletes are, I'm pretty sure if anyone's done a race of any sorts, you're going to get frustrated. You're going to blame stuff that isn't your own, and you're basically just going to be a sore loser. Um, Everyone's got that within them, and I think it's just human nature. Yes, probably not great that we saw it on camera, or saw it in print, but I think that's human nature. Everyone acts
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it happen to Jake Dixon at one point this season. Sorry to bring that up again,
Don't get
but
me started.
riders in the heat of the moment after, a big incident or a big crash or a bad result, it's not surprising that sometimes they react the way that they react because, like I said, you have to put yourselves in their shoes and you
Yeah.
probably would react the same if it was you in that situation. So it's hard to be upbeat and positive all the time.
Oh, there's a lot. I mean, this is one of the most adrenaline-filled sports in the world. You know, everything is feelings, adrenaline, emotions are all just high while you're riding, while you're racing. So again, everything's going to come out. How many times have you seen riders throwing gloves, helmets, whatever in their garages?
Just think of Isan Guevara last year in
Yeah.
America. Tantrums, yeah, it happens to everyone, so we're not surprised. A few others, though. A few said Aaron Canet, which I think is
I think
fair.
Aaron can had an Aaron Canet season.
Yep. A couple of people said Fabio Quartararo, which
Machinery.
machinery. Possibly personal, not sure. My bias will come out in this answer when I'm like, no, he did great this year. What are you talking about? And then a couple of people actually mentioned that Rory Skinner, that situation with the American Racing Team and him being left without a ride at the end of the season with a lot of decent seats already filled. Still no confirmation at the time of recording this podcast, and this is the 13th of December, where Rory is going to be next season. So yeah, I would say that is quite a disappointing moment.
It's funny, but also very upsetting at the same time that in his Instagram bio, he has tagged Job Centre Plus UK.
At least
If
he sees the funny side in it.
you don't laugh or cry,
I think he might have said that actually to Everything Motor Racing, who did point that out on
I
his
mean,
stories. I'll
well
have to
then,
see if I can find it.
well then there you go.
Yeah, he said, yeah, Declan tagged him in the Everything Motor Racing stories, and he said if you didn't laugh, you'd cry. And that's from Rory Skinner himself.
Great minds think alike. Anyway, yeah, the situation was disappointing, but how many times have we seen it in racing now? I suppose. I think one thing we have learned this year is contracts mean absolutely niche.
Zilch, zero, nada. Yeah, it's rough to be a rider in the lower classes out there at the minute, but fingers crossed for Rory Skinner and getting a good ride for next season. I heard Beer Monster Ducati are looking for a rider in BSB, and that's where my money is on. So hopefully that happens. Um, we will
Oh,
move on though to the biggest what the frick moment. Don't want to swear on the podcast. WTF, biggest WTF moment?
whew. I think there were quite there were quite a few.
There were a lot, but the nominees for this one were Marc Marquez crashes into Johann Zarco, leaving pit lane at the German Grand Prix. I was watching a highlights reel of the season and completely forgot that this happened.
I think we'd almost got to the shock where we almost thought Zarko was
Yeah,
killed, seriously injured, and the fact that he actually got up after 30 seconds
and walked
was
away.
probably the biggest WTF.
I think we've had a few crashes like that this season. I think of Sergio Garcia in the last round in Valencia.
Literally going to say that as well. Pecco in Barcelona.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you didn't
Um,
break anything.
Who couldn't forget that? I mean, sitting in the stands in Barcelona, everyone's gone silent.
You just wanted to throw in that you were there.
I mean, yes, but at the same time, I think it's I think it's a valid
Yeah,
addition.
yeah, we've had a few crazy ones, but thankfully they're not all crashes. But that one was definitely a WTF moment at the German Grand Prix, and I think it showed that maybe Sachsenring needs to have a layout change, or is it getting too small for MotoGP bikes? Even though it does provide good racing, it is getting a bit unsafe. The second nominee for biggest WTF moment was Alicia Spargo slapping Franco Morbidelli on the head during FP2 in Qatar. This one has been such a talking point ever since it happened. Oh, it had to be in here because what was going through his head when he thought I'm going to slap him?
Just a moment of stupidity from the most experienced rider in the paddock. I think that's probably my worst part. The fact that he is the most experienced rider in the paddock. He
Yeah.
is probably the voice of the riders. Um,
Mhm.
he's all about safety. He's all about, just making the riders heard. And then he goes and does that. It's a bit dodgy,
Yeah.
to say the least. So yeah, um, not a fan, Alish.
No,
If
definitely not.
I had to be brutally honest, I'm not a fan.
Definitely not. The third nomination for this category was the shock, I suppose, of Marc Marquez leaving Honda after 11 years together. This was
I
definitely my biggest what moment of the season.
I think leaving Honda was the face of the shock, but
Hmm.
then you've also got to remember he's leaving Santi after 13 years.
Not sure, yeah.
He's leaving Repsol after basically his whole career. You know, he's leaving so much behind. It's not just Honda.
It's a big,
It
bold move to make.
it's one of. I mean, is it on par with Rossi from Honda to Yamaha?
I don't remember it. That's the problem. Like I was alive when it
Oh,
happened, but
I
I
was I
was
wasn't.
young. Oh, showing my age.
um, but the implications of Rossi from Honda to Yamaha, it was you know more of Rossi showing
Yeah.
what I
I
can
think you
do.
can compare them, but they're very different because obviously Mark had all the glory with Repsol Honda, whereas Rossi, yes, had won titles, but wanted to prove that he could do it on different machinery too.
Rossi is a Yamaha rider.
Hmm.
That's what people remember him as.
Exactly. Weird to think that he won his first championships in MotoGP on a Honda.
Won his first 500cc in with a Honda,
Hmm.
and the last 500cc.
Yep. The last nominee for this category was Moto3 as a whole was just the biggest WTF moment of the season, and I
I think
would
the I
definitely
think the
agree.
I think the lull at the end kind of just added
Oh yeah, sorry,
felt
I
about
didn't
that.
add its full
Thanks,
name.
Carly.
I forgot to take that out actually, and just ran with it when I was making this poll.
Thank you, Carly.
Yeah, thanks Carly for that one. Um, Again by a landslide, the one winning was Alicia Spigro slapping Frankie Morbidelli on the head. I don't know if this was just because it was the most recent thing to happen in the season. And I'm actually quite surprised that the moment between Pecco Bagnaia and Maverick Vinales in the gravel chap at Le Mans was not put up for this award. Now that I'm thinking about it, because they had a very similar spat. You know, Maverick took Pecco off, and then Maverick went over and was like, I think he did hit Pecco, and Pecco was down, possibly injured at the time, and no penalties were given out then.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. I think we've seen similar incidents in different categories in the season. BSB at Donington, British Superstock at Alton with Alistair Seeley, um, Le Mans, and then obviously this in Qatar.
Yeah.
Um, I think because this one was on a live track,
Hmm.
possibly the worst.
Well, it clearly is the worst because people have voted for it in terms of the biggest
Oh yeah. Um,
moment. But I think there have been a lot of similar incidents this season, like you have mentioned. But for this one, I think of the fact that it was on track during a free practice session, and he clearly, with intent, went to whether it was to smack him on the head or on the arm or whatever, he made intents to make contact with him
yeah,
at
and
some point.
you shouldn't be
Out to
extending
do that.
you. The only time you should really be, making contact with another rider is, rubbing his racing
Mm.
type move. But this is totally wrong.
Yeah. Second place with the votes then was Marc Marquez crashing into Johann Zarco, leaving pit lane at the German Grand Prix. Cannot say I'm surprised. And in third place then was Moto3 as a whole.
Lol.
Lol. Moving on though to the most emotional moment of the 2023 season. The four nominees for this category were Paul Espargaro making his return to racing in Silverstone after a massive crash at the season opener in Portimao. Now, a lot of us will have seen that crash, will have known what happened to Paul. He had a massive crash in Portimao at the start of the season, and the fact that he even managed to get back on a bike again, never mind race again in MotoGP. Yeah, I'm not surprised that this is voted into this category. I wish we had a category for like biggest recovery, like sort of thing, because we had so many injured riders this year. I'm not surprised, but
Yeah,
for
didn't have a
me, this moment was emotional to see him back.
yeah. Um, I mean, watching the crash at first glance, massive crash. Again, I think we've all seen it at this point.
Mhm.
Um, and maybe even just set the precedent for this year as a whole. It's been banded by injuries, didn't get a single racing session with all of the full-time riders.
Yeah,
I think it just kind of set the tone for the season we are about to have. But obviously, massive crash, broke vertebrae, ribs, jaw, and these are big injuries. Like these are not just, have a few weeks rest and get back on, you'll be sound.
yeah.
This is a full-on massive, massive recovery step. And he finally came back in August at Silverstone. And even then, next round, 2 weeks later, gets a P6 in the sprint in Austria. So, I mean, he made a fantastic recovery. And even though we're not going to be seeing him full time next year, we'll probably see a few wild cards. Um, yeah, I think kudos for the recovery because a lot of riders would have stopped racing after that.
Yeah, definitely. The second nomination for most emotional moment was Marc Marquez crying during the sprint podium in Valencia. This is obviously potentially his last ever podium with Honda.
I
I'm
think
not going to say this is potentially his last ever podium because I don't believe that's true, but I feel like that was closing the book potentially on the Honda chapter or the Honda book.
it was enough to make a grown man cry.
It was
Um,
enough to make me cry.
I think there was a little tear in my eye as well.
I wouldn't be surprised.
It was proper. I mean, I think it was always going to be an emotional weekend.
Yeah, have you
Uh,
seen the videos that have come out since, from Honda and Repsol and all?
it's just probably to have Johnny Ray leaving Kawasaki and Mark Marquez to leave Honda in the same season. You've got these big kind of celebrations of their chapters, and the scenes were just beautiful.
Yeah, it's Yeah, it's the heartwarming side of motorbike racing, these sorts of things, and it is emotional to
There's
see.
but even in this sport, like there's so much emotion, there's so much collaboration. You know, the sit down interview that Mark did with Susie Perry on TNT, he said, you know, these aren't just his mechanics and crew chiefs. These are his friends. These
Yeah.
are his biggest friends in the whole paddock. I can't remember what they named their group chat. The hero team or something like that.
Oh, yeah, it was something like that.
Yeah, because they were for years.
For so many years, yeah. Yeah, it
Uh,
was something funny like that.
and the fact that they're not as friends, but they're not working together anymore. Mark's only bringing one of them over, I think. Yeah, it's just I'm almost gonna cry now, actually. Um, yeah, move on to
Don't
the
be
next one.
dramatic.
Move on to the next one. Move on to the next one.
But this one will probably make you cry too. Um, Ayumi Sasaki winning the Valencian Grand Prix the week after losing his Moto 3 title. Well, I say the Moto 3 title a week prior. Obviously, we all know what happened in Moto 3 in Qatar before Valencia. A lot of people thought that the Moto3 battle should have went down to Valencia, and a lot of people didn't agree with some moves made by Jaime Masia, who eventually went on to win the championship. But I think Ayumi Sasaki went out in Valencia and did everything that he needed to do, proved everyone wrong that he could win a race this season, and even though it'll be very bittersweet that he lost the championship, but he showed everyone that he had that potential to win races. I think this moment was, yeah, a very emotional one because you know that that championship it should have went down to the wire. But we've said it so many times, the rightful person won, and it's no hate to Jamie Massey in that sense. But I think this was just a very bittersweet way to end the season for Ayumi Sasaki, who's moving on to bigger and better things in Moto 2. So.
No, of course, and I've got no doubt that he'll set the world alight there. Um, but again, when you've lost something and when you've lost the ultimate goal, I think your only goal left is just to go out in style, end the season how you would have wanted to end it. And I just think if he didn't, yeah, I think he came with one goal in mind, and that was to win the race. I don't
Yeah.
think he would have taken second as an option. He would
Exactly.
he would have done anything to get there, and he did it. So
Exactly. That was a very emotional moment. And the last nominee is Fabio Di Giannantonio's first Premier Class win in Qatar.
I feel like we've just poured our heart out to Digi race after race after race. There was the top independent where he
Mhm.
basically cried in Park Ferme. Oh, he was
He
crying.
did cry in Park Ferme, yeah.
The podium and then the eventual win, which I think I doesn't even matter who you were supporting in the title fight. I feel like everyone wanted him to win at that point.
I think when you seen that it was him and Pecco and they were both pulling away, and it was like, okay, well, Pecco's got the lead of the championship. Jorge Martin's back in
When did
10th.
you when
You
did
don't
you
need to win this race.
No,
So I think everyone watching that was willing Digia on. I think I know Pecco didn't purposely make a mistake or anything like that, but you know, Digia deserves to win that race, and I'm glad that it happened.
I think it almost just it then put the pressure on VR46 to go, right, you are signing him.
Yeah,
Like we will not take any other answer.
exactly. And yeah, I suppose no surprise then that that moment of Fabio Di Giannantonio winning his first Premier Class race is the most emotional moment of this season. Again, by a landslide. All these ones that had voting, like there was definitely a standout moment in each category, and this is another one with over half of the votes for Digia's win.
Savage winner, to be honest. I mean, I know I almost
Massively.
cried at I know I almost cried at Marks.
Well, it
But
came second, so
Okay, there we go. I can say
but
that.
only with 31% of the votes. So
Anyway, um, Digia deserved it 100%. It was,
massively.
even though he was nowhere near the title, it was his season.
Yeah, I mean, he's become such a big talking point to the point where where he's ending up was a bigger talking point than the championship battle at some points.
Oh, 100%. Because I think we saw his struggles last year. We saw the Instagram post, and if you told that Digi about what was to come next year, he would have slapped you.
Yeah.
I think he was bold statement. I think if he hadn't stayed in MotoGP, I think he would have just stopped racing.
A high chance, yeah, for someone to go from the point of literally saying that they not hated riding, but they were at the point where they
They
didn't
weren't
like
enjoying it.
racing.
Yeah, they weren't enjoying it.
Yeah.
I understand, like everyone's got that need to win, because everyone's there because they've performed at some stage in their career.
Yeah. And they
They
all think that they can win the championship. That's what they're there for.
they've all won junior categories. They've all won Grand Prix. Um, so all of them have got the ability and they know the feeling of winning. And when you're absolutely nowhere near it, why wouldn't you almost say, what's the point?
Yeah, and if you can't see a way out of it either, like if you can't see things getting better, and it took him and Frankie Carcetti a long time this season to get it right. I just hope his crew chief is as good as Frankie Carcetti next year, because unfortunately he's not going with him. But
Yeah,
yeah,
he's got Mark, which
I'm
that's a
excited.
that's a different story. Um,
Yeah.
anyway, did you win the battle for second? Because Mark will obviously blast the championship.
Well, we'll see. But yeah, this Fabio Di Giannantonio moment, I think as well, it was kind of full circle. If you remember last year, obviously, Enea Bastianini won the opening round with the Gresini team in Qatar, and a year later, Fabio Di Giannantonio takes his first MotoGP win at Qatar. What a woman Nadia Padovani is, and what
Pressure's
a
on.
ship that she runs. Legend.
The pressure's on for next year in Qatar.
I could see. Mark or
Alex,
Alex,
Alex Marquez, first win, Alex Marquez.
quite possibly, quite possibly, but
Mark second.
yeah, but just a nod to Nadia Padovani there,
Oh yeah, I
because
mean
I had to.
she's probably one of the most inspirational women in the paddock right now. I'd say
Yeah,
a team boss
real.
running one of the top independent team from last year, or well, the top independent
Behind,
rider from last year.
yeah, I was gonna say Pramac won, but they won best
Yeah,
team full
well,
stop. Yeah.
yeah, well, last year she the highest independent rider was from our team.
Mm. And now that she's got Mark Marquez and Alex Marquez on her bikes.
Yeah, it's not half a bad lineup, is it?
Whew, what a woman. What
I'd
a
be I'd,
woman.
I'd be quite scared to see that blow.
Okay, moving on then. We've only got two categories left, but we're moving on to the funniest moment of this season. Now, this was very hard to whittle down to just four, but I think we did quite good in picking four different um moments for the funniest moments. So obviously, the first nomination was the best onboard camera photo I think we've seen for a long time, which was Marc Marquez summing up his 2023 season. He did a little cheeky middle finger to the camera after having a big moment in Sachsenring, I think the weekend was. Now, this is obviously where he is the king of, and he crashed 5 times in one weekend. So I think that does pretty sum up his 2023 season with Honda. In second nominee, sorry, I should say, was every time a Moto 3 rider used the like seat method to tell others to stay behind them because they are faster.
I'm
How
not
many
even
times did we see this year?
I'm not even gonna start listing examples. Like this
I just think
is
with Dennis on too.
there's so many.
Yeah.
Dennis Onchu was probably the worst offender.
Davin Munoz, I've seen do it a few times too.
Darwin Munoz and Dennis Onchu, they're just in a world of their own.
Yeah, their world and we're just living in it.
If I start seeing this in Moto 2, I'm with Dennis Onchu next year. I don't know what to think.
I will burst out laughing.
Yeah. Don't know whether Moto 2 I don't know whether he's gonna think like, oh, Moto 2 riders, they're a bit more grown up. They might actually listen.
Maybe he'll mature a little bit. But it
Yeah.
stands on too, so probably not. The third nomination for funniest moment features none other than Pedro Acosta wearing lederhosens after coming second in Austria.
Probably the best failed celebration of all time.
Well, you could tell that they obviously had an elaborate plan for when he won the race. He didn't.
And he was very close. Um, but he
Um,
messed up the tire and somehow let Celestino Vietti win, which I
Bit
mean,
random.
I can just see the Valentino Rossi meme. Like I can just
Yeah.
see that with like an edited on smile
Yeah.
um in the back of my mind. But anyway, somehow it's probably the funniest photo I saw from last year.
It was pretty good. I mean, the fact that he literally put Velcro lederhosens over his leathers and did a
After
whole
after
podium
having after having
celebration.
bottled possibly the easiest win of the season.
Well, it was KTM's home turf, so it was obviously a nod to them.
Yeah.
So he just ran with it anyway.
Yeah, fair play. I think the photo we picked out was quite funny. You could see the instant regrets.
Yeah, it is quite a good one. It is quite a good one. And the last nominee we had was Marc Marquez, summing up his 2023 season again. This one is him standing in the gravel trap with his bike, obviously after a crash, and his arms are just out in front of him. His leathers, the airbags have popped on them. He looks like the Michelin Man, and he's just like looking at the bike, like, what is going on? Or why has this happened again? It was a pretty funny moment, I do have to say. I don't know how he can make fun or make
But
light in a
I just think the
situation
whole
like this.
backstopping weekend could have been memed,
Yeah.
and just with Mark
Yeah. It was rough to think of, but we're out of that now because he's gonna be on a Ducati next year anyway, so
win the championship.
well we'll see. But winning the funniest moment this season was Marc Marquez summing up his 2023 season. The first time, and that is the middle finger to the camera on the onboard. Close behind in second place was Marc Marquez standing in the gravel trap looking at his bike. Like, come on, guys. Come on. I mean, are we surprised that these two pictures are the top?
No, I mean by that point, Mark had. I mean, it took until Austria for Mark to finish a Grand Prix,
Yeah, pretty
which
has.
was crazy. DNF, DNS, you saw it everywhere. He took his like one sprint podium, and that was really it.
Hmm.
At Portimao. So you almost just forget how bad they were.
Yeah, it's pretty heartbreaking when you
Like
actually think about it.
fair play for the Japan podium, the performance in India, the Valencia sprint podium, but they were so bad.
Yeah, yeah. Third place was the Moto3 riders using the tap the seat method to tell others to stay behind them. And somehow in last place was Pedro Acosta in his lederhosens. Not sure how that happened, but I thought it was funny.
I think Pedro Acosta this year was just funny,
He was. He
and
was.
he was also not so bad in the championship.
Exactly, exactly. But moving on to our last category of the evening, we had Best Livery. Now, the first nomination for this one, I had a little bit of bias, obviously because I did the voiceover for the bike reveal for LCR Honda at the start of the season. I just think the LCR Honda Castrol is the best looking bike on the grid, so that was my
Best,
vote
it's
for.
the best looking normal livery.
It's the best looking livery full stop, and the green one, oh, it was even better than the normal livery.
It's the best looking regular every race livery in MotoGP.
Interesting. Um, the second nomination was the speed up bike, but specifically the orange edition because they like to change their
They
colors
had,
up.
I think they had four different colors this year.
Well, they do a blue, they've done a yellow
Pink.
before, they've done pink,
Oh, red
orange.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, red.
Every color of the rainbow you will have seen on a speed up bike, and I
I
like
like,
every single one of them.
yeah, I would like to see them maybe alternate in regularity next year.
Yeah, I say keep the pink. It's like the bog standard.
The pink, I do like
I
the
like the pink. Or the blue, actually.
blue, yeah. The
Pink
red,
suits Alonso's number better, but blue suits Firmine's number better. Do you know what I'd love to see green? They should do a green.
oh, they should just do everything. Like just do a purple, do a light
They
blue,
might as
maybe
well.
yellow.
They've done most colors.
Just do them all, auction them off, and yeah.
Yeah, make a load of money. Um, the third nominee was the Ducati Giallo. Giallo. When I looked online, I think you might have spelled it wrong, Harvey. Not
Uh,
sure, but it's the
I
special yellow livery in both World
my
Superbikes.
150 days of Duolingo never helped.
Yeah, I'm not sure. So I'm actually not sure if I pronounced that right at all, but
I believed it was Gialli, but
okay. Well, there you go. Harvey picks this one anyway, so I'm putting the blame on him if the pronunciation is wrong. But it is the special yellow Ducati that we've seen in World Superbikes and MotoGP.
well,
Looked better in MotoGP, in my humble opinion,
we argued about this last week.
and I'm just putting it out there again.
I thought it was better on the Superbike. Um, yeah, I mean it's a lovely tribute to the Ducati 916,
Yeah.
and I thought that was absolutely beautiful.
The last nominee, I'm going to throw Carly under the bus because she picked this one. The Red Bull KTM.
It's just
What was she thinking?
Carly. Um,
And she's not
I'd
here
like
to
to,
defend herself.
I'd like to, I'd like to place my bets that that came last.
No, it came third. The LCR Honda came last.
Wow,
Yeah,
wow.
I'm really disappointed in that because I thought I'm a surefire winner here.
How, how many votes did it get? If I have to,
So LCR Honda got 17% of the votes.
okay.
Rebel KTM got 20% of the votes.
Oh, there wasn't much. There's probably a vote in it there.
I think there was a couple of, yeah, a couple of votes in it.
Yeah.
Um, The Speed Up Orange Edition came in second place, meaning that the special yellow Ducati came in first place with 37% of the votes.
Woo!
Now, this could be down to the pictures used because I did put pictures into the poll, and maybe I just didn't paint all of the bikes in their best light, but the Ducati did look good, I'm not gonna
I was
lie.
going to
I
say,
used the MotoGP one as well.
excuses, excuses. It was the best livery of the year.
It was only a
Uh,
one-time thing, though. I actually really, really liked the yellow.
they used it twice in Super. Well, they used it in Superbike for the last race,
Mm.
which obviously was just incredible. So maybe that's what I've got on my mind as well.
Yeah, possibly. But
But when they released it, did they not do it last year in Superbike as well?
I think they did run it at Misano too,
Yeah.
unless I've completely made that up.
What?
They ran something
Last?
special last year.
Yeah, I think it was the other.
I'm getting confused because I know Grassini ran their retro livery again
Oh,
this year, which should have been up there.
you know what? We are silly. We are really silly. I feel
How did Carly pick Red Bull KTM when there's a retro Grassini livery running around the place? I stick by LCR Honda, but like, come on, people could have picked better options.
yeah, I wasn't too sure about the speed up one as well, if I'm brutally honest.
Yeah.
This is personal. This is like the biggest personal preference one, I'd say.
I know. This one, we didn't have a conversation about each other's picks. We just let each other pick.
Yeah.
I think maybe we should have sat down and spoke about which liveries are actually the best this year.
Oh, 100%. I reckon we need like a spreadsheet, do a tier maker or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, goodness me. But the Ducati won anyway. I do agree it was a very good looking bike, so I'm not surprised that it won. But that is it, folks. That is the Setting Lap Awards for 2023. Go us! This is the last podcast episode of the season. I cannot believe that we have made it to this point in the year. And I just want to take a little moment to thank all of our listeners this year. This year is only our second year of running the podcast, and boy, oh boy, has it been a good one. When we look back at everything that we've done this year compared to what we achieved in our first year, it actually stuns me. It renders me speechless a little bit to think of all the amazing opportunities that we've been given this year. And it makes me so excited for 2024 and the things that we can hopefully get our teeth into for next season. It's been pretty bloody crazy this year, hasn't it? We
Yeah.
somehow made it here.
I mean, this year has been like personally one that I'll probably never forget. Like
Oh,
with all the stuff that we've been able to, not you, Lauren, with
no,
all the stuff
yeah,
we've been able
okay.
to do this year, all the races we've been able to go to, all the people we've met. I've met a lot of you guys at tracks and stuff like that, and yeah, it's just been unreal, and like a massive, massive thank you to those who support us on the regular, on the social medias, listen every week. Like again, we couldn't do it without you guys.
No, literally. And when we take a look at our numbers in terms of engagement, followers, listeners, we have grown so much in this year. Our Spotify Wrapped was really good this year when we look at our listens and stuff. And week on week, I see our numbers getting better and better. People are coming back and listening, and we're getting new listeners week upon week. So a massive thank you to you guys. And like Harvey said, a massive thank you to everyone who supports us, follows us, etc., etc. And a massive thank you to everyone who has taken time out of their day to come and join us on this podcast. We have had so many interviews this year. We've been able to do so many cool, fun projects, and people have taken time out of their workday to give us advice, to show us around garages, to give us tours when we're at bike races, have let us get passes and stuff like that. So it wouldn't be possible without everyone. So, and a massive thank you to everyone in the siding lap as well. I know
Oh,
you listen to Harvey and I every single week, but there is a team that do lots of work behind the scenes to make sure that we are able to do this podcast every single week. We have Anik obviously running our social media and doing our incredible graphics, which week upon week people comment on, which we are so, so proud of and chuffed with. So yeah, I'm gonna get all emotional now talking
oh,
about it.
I mean, what a team.
What a team indeed. So, from all of us here at the Siding Lab, one final thank you very much for listening to the last podcast episode of the year. But fear not, we are only taking a couple weeks off over Christmas to finally spend some time with our families and sit down and not watch any motorbike racing. But we will be back in the new year with lots of new exciting episodes, with lots of guests, lots of projects coming up, and keep your eyes peeled on some paddocks because we will be there next season ready to meet you guys and watch some unreal bike racing on track. But for now, we are the Siding Lab and we will see you guys in the new year.